One of our viewers, Badfinger Babe 777, asked me what I thought about tiny house living. I actually made a video talking about how we wanted to actually do the tiny house living experience. So watch my video. It's actually the #1 video on our channel. So I'll put the link right here. Check that out. About 1 to 400 square feet. Most people who live in a tiny house or want a tiny house, it's because they're looking to save money and or want to help out the environment. But mainly it's about trying to live a more simple lifestyle, maybe costing a little less. Unfortunately, it's not always the case, and you're not always saving. I'm all for downsizing, as you know, decluttering, getting rid of stuff, making your life more simple. I think less is more. Tiny house could be a boat like this. Obviously, that's not always the affordable way to go. Then you have the RVs, and then you have people who live in vans, and then there's people who want cabins. Tiny house, it could be quite expensive, even if you build it yourself. And it's not usually the building itself, it's usually buying the land, and then there's all kind of building codes. You need well water, city water, and that all costs money. And some people like to live off the grid, but most people would like some creature comforts. Even a well, having your own well, can cost $10,000 to $15,000 just to dig, if you have water at all. And then if you have to bring the city water down, that's going to cost. So I know many people think they could do whatever they want on their land, but that's not the case. So watch that video again that I mentioned, and you could see what we went through. We bought that land 25 years ago, and we had a wonderful time, great memories. So we had a lot to learn, and that's okay, but we didn't live on it like we thought we were going to live on it. Tiny house living doesn't have to be a little cabin. It doesn't have to be a little tiny house in itself. It could be a small apartment. So don't rule that out. Sometimes that's more affordable than making or purchasing your own home. I've seen articles where people who are trying to convince people to make a tiny house or buy a tiny house, sometimes they skew the numbers. I'm not saying everybody, but some do. You have to compare apples to apples. You can't say a tiny house is so much more affordable because, but they don't tell you that maybe you could purchase a house that's maybe a 1,200 square foot house for less than the tiny house would cost to build. I'm not saying that tiny houses are not the way to go. I just think that we all have to really look at it very carefully. Even if we got free land, like I said, you're going to have to check out those building codes, because the building codes are going to tell you what you can or cannot do on that property. And I know people have commented on that other video saying, I could do what I want on my property, it's my land. Well, you try to do that and see what happens. It doesn't work out that way. So however you want to live, I think downsizing is a great idea, but there's going to be costs if you live on a boat, an RV, in an apartment, in a house. Sometimes the way we want to live, where we think it's going to cost less, ends up costing more, because we're not thinking about all the little aspects of what's involved. For example, the upkeep of an RV. Those of you who have RVs, you know that there's upkeep. Some tiny houses that can be right on the water like this, there's a whole movement down here in Florida, for example, where there's these tiny houses built on the water and where you can put your boat, and they're $500,000 and more. And I know some of you are like, I built my house for $5,000 with recycled material. And I think if you did, that's awesome. not sure where the nails and screws came from, because those are often kind of hard to get recycled. I know you can get a lot of great material at auctions, yard sales, closeouts, but it's going to be very hard to build a house for $5,000 and meet building codes. And even if you did, again, I think the biggest cost with anything is where you're going to put your home. On property, unless you have someone who's giving you free property, and so that doesn't really count when you're figuring out if you want to do this or not. Most of us can't or don't have someone to give us free land to live on, and and even if you have a boat, you got to dock it somewhere. Same with the RV, you need to put it somewhere. Of course you could boondock, but not everyone wants to do that. I won't go into our story again, just watch the video, and I pretty much cover all the things we went through, because we did want to live the tiny house lifestyle, live off the land, that kind of thing. It didn't work out that way, but again, we enjoyed it, we loved it, so that's all right. And even if you build your home yourself, you still need to buy tools if you don't have them. And that can get pretty expensive as well. So I don't think there's any simple, easy answer to living a very frugal lifestyle. And I don't think any one lifestyle is right or wrong. I think it's only right or wrong for you, the individual. And sometimes it's not always about the money. How do you want to live? It may cost more to live a certain way, but that's the way you want to live, and I think that's what you should do. You only live once, so you have to enjoy it the best you can, do the best you can. And sometimes you can live different lifestyles. I always say that. There's no one way you have to live your whole life, so give it all a try. Well, thanks for watching. Thumbs up, please share, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to live a passionate life.